presentation started. As you probably all know, I'm John Sherwood. I'm the chair of the board of trustees. Would you prefer this? Okay, I'll try not to. Okay. Can I turn this down at all, or no? Just hold it a little further from my mouth, that sort of thing. As I think I've told you folks before, we are getting close to, well, we have really kind of reached the end of the money for the Tate Foundation. We still have about $100,000 left, but that $100,000 we have to maintain for emergency purposes, and so that if we have some sort of emergency, we'll have the funds available to us. What we're going to embark upon this year is a capital raising campaign. And as you can see up on the screen, we have 3 different phases of this campaign that we're going to do. The first phase, which is we're trying to raise $392,000, is for what we consider the immediate needs of our church. And those immediate needs are laid out on, not under the narrative, but under the 2019 Capital Funding Legacy Campaign. And the first of which is the $105,000 for the replacement of the church boilers. And then the Asbury roof replacement, which we've partially got that funded from the endowment. But then the fire protection for the basement is another $55,000. So those top 4 or 5 entries in there, which is the replacement of the basement under the sunrise room with fire-rated sheetrock, we consider those to be what we need to do right now for funding to get our church upgraded. And maybe some of these others are less, urgent. The pigeon barrier is one thing that's not going to be very expensive that we can do pretty quick, but that has become a big problem in the courtyard. We're having a lot of bird waste and stuff like that in there. So, and then the second group of projects is what we believe needs to be done in the next 5 years, and that totals about pretty close to $300,000. And of course, that's replacing the King's Corner carpet with linoleum. That's one of the big ticket items there. And then upgrading the fellowship hall with LED lighting and new ceilings and carpet. And our long-term vision, which is 10 years out, would require new windows for the church and the courtyard and other areas, and then replacement of the deteriorating concrete in the driveway between the Asbury Center and the church, and then of course the chancel remodel, and then a church elevator upgrade. And I personally believe that the church elevator upgrade is going to be something that we're going to need to do within the next 5 years. We have reached a point with that elevator, and our contractor has told us the same thing, is that elevator is in dire need of an upgrade. And I don't think we can push that out 10 years in our 5 to 10 year plan, but that's just my opinion. And then the Asbury Center remodel with new LED lighting and new lay-in ceilings. So that's a total of almost $380,000 in phase 3. But the immediate needs of $392,000 is what we are most urgently in need of funding. And one of the things that I think the one that I do, in my opinion, believe needs to be at the top of the list is our fire suppression in this building. If we were to have a fire in that basement downstairs, there's a good possibility that this whole building would collapse, because there's a significant amount of support that goes under this floor, on these walls and all that would potentially cause this building to fail. Even if it didn't completely gut the building, it's possible that we would lose the support and foundation for this structure. Yes, Bob? No, we don't have a sprinkler system at all down there. None whatsoever. And what they did when they redid 2nd Street, they stubbed off a 4-inch main over here on the south side of the building, with the idea of eventually putting in a sprinkler system for the church, or for the fellowship hall. And I believe that's what, in my personal opinion, I know there's a difference of opinion on the trustees as to what should be our number one priority, but my number one priority in my mind is that. The boilers, they're certainly in need of replacement, but I believe that fire suppression should come first. Any other questions? Yes, Bill.
Since there are 5 boilers, that means it's modular. If one failed, are they all going to fail at the same time?
Of course not. It's very rare that you're going to get a failure of all 4 at the same time. The biggest danger to a system like that is oxygen. If you get air in that system in any way at all, that's what's going to cause your biggest source of corrosion. It's not going to be the water itself, it's going to be oxygen. And our insurance company, Munich Re, had done some inspection on those boilers, and they gave them a clean bill of health. Now, of course, that did not include an internal inspection. They only did external. They only looked at it externally, but they did a pretty thorough inspection of them. And like I say, that $105,000 is, I think, going to be better spent in the immediate term on fire suppression and some of the other things we need to do, like the Asbury roof and a few other of these. Let's see, what's the replacement of the basement under the sunrise room? I think that's a big one as well. But these are all very important, this first group, that need to be done immediately. And we're going to do a campaign to try to fund that this year. We hope to start it sometime around the 1st of May and have it concluded by the end of October or possibly the end of November. Any other questions? Oh, I'm sorry. You want to go ahead and dig through this one? Dave? Yeah. This is Dave Conklin. I want you all to know that this gentleman has done a significant amount of work on this project. This has all been pretty well put together by Dave. This is kind of in your wheelhouse, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, this is kind of what he's done in his career. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to say that Dave has done a significant amount of the legwork and putting together the costs for this capital campaign, and I can't thank him enough for what he's done for me. Thanks.
Okay, the Asbury Center roof's up here now. The flat section of that's a built-up roof, and we've been having problems with that leaking. And then you can also see the end panels on that clay tile roof, and we'd like to take the clay tile off, get it to match where the big canopy roof is there. So we need to do the flat roof on the Asbury Center and the clay tile roof and those end panels. We need to replace all that. So, next slide. The fire protection for the church basement. The 4-inch fire line is down here. When they did the 2nd Street remodel, we knew that this was going to come up someday, and it just needs to be done. It's a code requirement. The city grandfathers this, which I don't think is particularly a good idea, but so like to get that done too. The boilers were installed in 1977. So where were you guys in 1977? They've been putting in a... I hear you there. And they haven't been problematic, but we think the idea is to catch this before they do quit. And instead of putting a lot of money in the repairs, we would like to just get them replaced. And there is a plan that we have to replace those now too, so. That modular system is made to work completely by itself there. So yes, we'd replace all 5 of them with 3 boilers. And they're much more efficient boilers. And we'd save money on the gas too. So new pumps that are a lot more efficient. And the thing, it's been, it's done a really good job, but it's just kind of worn out right now or getting there, so. The classroom ceilings in the downstairs, and this is what they look like right now. There's been some water damage down there and the ceilings have been torn out. And we'd like to come in and just remodel that space, make it a lot more friendly. Fire protection would be added here too, plus new ceilings, recessed lights, and just make it a much more friendly place.
Dave, I wanted to say, this is the youth classroom. The
Okay.
youth Sunday school room that looks so bad, and it was one of our major priorities in the congregational survey, was to be more inviting to families, children, and youth. And this is where we're putting our teenagers.
So we just want to overall upgrade that, so. And the Second Street entry, you look around, it's kind of a hodgepodge of, like there's 5 different lighting systems in there. The flooring needs to be upgraded. The pews are starting to show their age. And you don't think about the expense of some of this, but to replace the upholstery on the pews is $40,000. So, huge expense. Oh, our pigeons. We love our pigeons. They're back. And we have a plan to put a netting over that with some aircraft cable that will hook to it. And it'll be just a permanent situation. It's one of the things, it's just disgusting down there in the courtyard. I don't know if you've been down there, but that's certainly one of the priority too. And one additional item there is we want new wireless mics for the clergy up here, and just do some improvements to sound system and see what we can do to get that thing, tuned up, basically. So, okay, oh, sorry.
Can any of these projects be started this summer, or do we have to wait a year?
No, if we had the money right now, we would take off and start doing these. There was just, we have our priority list there. We wouldn't be able to do them all in 1 year, but we have hard numbers, bids on most of these projects. So we're ready to move ahead. It's all we need is the money. So. And that would just be replaced with a membrane roof. It's a built-up roof now, so we're just trying to get it so that it doesn't leak. And we've had leak problems on that roof too. So. Part of it is flat roof right now, and then the clay tile section is the peak part of it. So we're trying to get the peak part to match the canopy that we have now, plus replace the flat section so it doesn't leak anymore. So it'll be a membrane roof, and we have a bid on that of about $50,000 on that roof too. So that's from Limmer Roofing. So. But there you can kind of see so it's basically 2 separate roofs that we have to deal with there, and that membrane goes up underneath that clay tile one, so we got to take the clay tile off to replace it. And so, get back to oh.
So if I'm hearing this right, and I haven't talked John about this, if you don't have the basic fire protection, the rest of this is not even matter.
Well, if the place burns down, and that's exactly right, and this has been on the code books for over 30 years, there's no question that we exceed the size limitations, and it is a code requirement. I wonder about our insurance if we were to have a fire and they said, well, your building didn't meet code. And so I think the whole building's at risk.
Well, we've seen what's going to happen to cathedrals and other churches.
Yeah, oh yeah, and isn't that comes to light, what happened in London there and stuff, and you go, that could be us. And basements seem to be where the fires start. Yeah, Dave.
Yeah, I wanted to mention, did any of you read the article in the Trib last week about, maybe it was the Trib, the buildings downtown and how there's a problem with having them remodeled and having them modernized for business use because there's no sprinkler systems in these old buildings. There's under the code, you can maintain the original your building under the original building code as long as you're the original owner. When a building changes ownership, then the building needs to be brought up to modern code standards. So there was this article was talking about how somebody wanted to put a restaurant up on the 5th floor of the petroleum building? I'm sorry. And it's going to be problematic because they've got to put a fire suppression system in the building so that they can put a restaurant in. And frankly, the whole downtown area is, with some minor exceptions, is under that same set of circumstances. All of these buildings need code upgrades. So it's not like we've neglected the issue, it's that all of these buildings around us are also about the same age. So it's
So
a
it
big
needs to be done. It's pretty much what happens.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was kind of shocked about getting the early news reports about the Notre Dame Cathedral, and somebody said it might have been a bad extension cord, and I thought, wow, a bad extension cord causes.
Okay, thanks, David. Technically, we should have the whole building fire sprinkler. The code requirement is the basement, and we will have rooms to expand that. And so as we move forward with all this, that needs to be on the list to fire protect the whole building. But invariably, the fires start in the basements. And the firefighters can't go down there because the access isn't right, and so the building burns. And that's just the way it is. So. Let's go to phase 2 then, if you would, Lester. The prices, King's Corner flooring, and we'll go through the slides more, but just some upgrades here. But you guys have the prices on your sheet, but let's just look at the slides. And so King's Corner, that is an old hotel carpet. And I don't know how long it's been in there, but we're serving about 200 meals a week in there, and we'd really like to get a linoleum floor down there just for health issues and stuff. So that would be the first project we have listed on phase 2 right now would be to replace that carpet in King's Corner. So the sunrise room, I don't know last time you looked down when you're in there, but that floor is really needed of some help, and we'd like to replace that. People walk in the building, and that's the first image of what we are, and I'd just really like to get that floor replaced with another hardwood floor in there. So. If you look at it, I think not. There's a lot of it there that's splitting, and there's a door hatch there you can see on that picture on the right. If you look at it, but those are options. We've gotten prices to replace it, but those are options as we move forward. Obviously, it's just people, we have to talk about what's best, what's least expensive. So. And the steel on this canopy out here is rusting. It's something we don't even think about. But if you can see on the right picture, and as you walk outside, it's all just scaling off. And rusting of those steel beams is not good. And there again, it's a $10,000 price tag to get that painted. You have to scaffold it and sandblast it and get it painted. So just another maintenance item that we can't let go forever. So, our kitchen hood in Fellowship Hall. Either we're going to have to shut the kitchen down, take the stove out, just say we're not doing anything down there, or fix this thing. And it meets no semblance of any code that's in force right now. It doesn't meet for the material, for the gauge of the material, fire protection, heat detection, the duct work. And we would run a new duct all the way up to the ceiling, up to the roof, and we have a way to get through the 3 floors to do that. But it's one of those things that the city could come in and just say, you're done. We're done cooking here, fix it, And so if we're going to use it, we need to just make sure that we meet the codes that are out there right now. So. Okay. Yes, Ron. And you know, right now there isn't, but that's in the long-term things that we could do. We've been working on that sump, and we have the right pump in there, and it works a lot better right now. But the whole kitchen could use some work, but this isn't on even our 10-year list. But as we move ahead, we want to add things to it, and we don't want to just sit back and wait another 20 years. So. Okay. The question was, do we want to do some further remodel with that drain and stuff down there? But part of that is the sewer lines are too low, and we have to pump it, and that's part of the problem there too. So, all right. And the dishwasher has been very problematic. It hasn't been working, and then here during the Lenten lunches, there was an electrical problem with it, and it was blowing hot steam all over the kitchen down there. And James actually got his leg scalded trying to get the thing shut off. So there again, if we're going to use it, it's got to be right, and so we want to replace it. So that's... And Fellowship Hall, you know, we've gotten away from using Fellowship Hall, and you wonder if we could make that a more fun space, a more welcoming space, if we wouldn't get back to using that. And I think it speaks for itself there. We just need ceilings, carpet, paint. I'd like to get the video down there, TV connection, so the kids can have things down there, but the big screen TVs and stuff. So if there's a youth function, they would feel welcome using that space there. So. And in general, we would like to just upgrade pretty much carpet throughout the church. New lights, put in LED lights, which are more efficient, get rid of some of the paneling, paint job, you know. And some of this we could self-perform if we can put groups together of kids or the people would like to do this. But just instead of sitting here and saying this is what's going to look like in 20 years, we'd like to have an idea that, hey, we need to upgrade this stuff. So.
Question, does that new carpet have to be commercial or?
And honestly, we haven't gotten in there. We've got $1 per square foot number of about $10 a square foot on the carpet. And so there again, we don't have all the details worked out, but as we go through our committee, and we do want the input of everybody here in the church of where are we going with all this too. So, yeah, so we would. Okay, phase 3. And here again, I think the price sheet's in there that you have that. But new windows for the church core. And it's amazing, but that's just the part that looks over the courtyard. And there's 42 windows in there. And if you look at that putty, that one on the right, some of those panes don't have any putty in them. They're leaking, and the frames are rusting. And I'm not sure, we're going to have to do something because I think some of those window panes might fall out. But we just need to look at it. And here again, you wouldn't think this, but that's a $100,000 item to get those windows replaced. And we just have to plan for these big projects that are coming up here. So.
Are those windows the original ones in this building?
Gene asked if those were the original windows in the building, and to my belief, they are. And so they've been here since 1952, so we've got 70 years on those windows. And they're single pane glass too, so there again, the thermal efficiency and stuff, we'll use wood casement double pane windows. So. And our concrete out here in the driveway, you don't think about this, but you walk across it every day, but it's going to be a sandbox in 10 years. I mean, it's crumbling and breaking up, and there's just places that we just have to address it. And here again, a fairly expensive ticket item, but we just got to get it on the books and say this is where we're headed with this. We may have to replace some of these sections individually because they are really bad. And there's one other slide there, I think, of King's Corner too. And I've been working with the Durbin Center, and I think we can get some of this sidewalk with King's Corner replaced by the Durbin Center, which would be different. It is the Durbin Center's parking lot, and they are responsible for it. So I've been working with them. So I think we can move ahead fairly quickly with this portion of the concrete replacement. So. And the chancel remodel, it's a placeholder here, but we would like to replace the flooring up here is one thing, but trying to make it a more warm space. And we've even talked about getting a church architect, someone with the conference that would actually come in and maybe get the stage here to protrude out more. And just what can we do to get more people up here, the way the music programs are growing and stuff. And that's kind of down the road. And maybe this dark paneling needs some help, but it just, like to make this a more welcoming, open church, so.
Handicapped?
And the handicap accessibility, we're working on that. We're looking for funding, okay, but it's called an inclined ramp that'll go in here, and you just pull up on it, and when it lifts, the ends close up and just moves it up. So we looked at a ramp, but the ramp would have to be 32 feet long, which takes you about back to there. And so that's not possible. So this inclined ramp, and it's really a neat system. I think everybody will like it when you see that. But we're working on that right now, and that could happen this summer. So, okay. And upgrade the elevator. Surprise, surprise. I think that was put in it's about 20, 30 years old right now, but we just go to digital controls and get upgrades in the way the system operates. It's so frustrating, that thing, our newest member over here. But it keeps breaking down. We've changed elevator representatives. It was Kone, and now it's Tyson Crump. And they are in town, and they're much better about getting here. We really feel like that Kone was doing nothing for us for the last 20 years, and really the whole thing just fell apart there. But that's certainly on the list to improve too. So. And then last but not least is Asbury Center, and there again, this is the heart of our church. It's where all the people come and go from and stuff, and we just like to upgrade it. And we're getting by, but it just needs to be a complete remodel. I like to do some of those windows along the east side, a little more energy efficient, downsize them and stuff. So I think that's about it on that. And so that kind of concludes it. We do want you guys to know that we're working with you. Just that. Sure, and that's part of what I wanted to go through here now too, is that the Durbin Center, we've changed management over there, and we're doing so much better now. We're back in the black. We have a new title company that's in there. We have an engineering firm looking at a space up on the third floor. And we're hoping that the Durbin Center will become the profit center for these, for the long term, for these capital improvements. Right now, we're trying to convert the Durbin Center to gas heat. We spend $60,000 a year on electric heat for that building, and we can cut that by a third, and that money goes back in to the church. So we can't use the Durbin Center right now or the profits from it. We got to get it up to where it's up and running and healthy. And that's why the immediate 5-year program, and we hope after 5 years the Durbin Center will be able to take over for it. So, and that's kind of the hope of the trustees. Let's see, there was a couple notes here. So the campaign is a 10-year campaign, but if we could get to the 400,000, the 700,000, and the $1 million, it'd be so much. This church would just glow. We'll do it as the money comes in. The campaign itself is going to be a 6-month campaign. We'll run from the 1st of May roughly until the 1st of November. And with Janet's transition here, we're kind of in the middle a little bit, but the help she's given us is incredible. Yeah. Okay, and it is a daunting task, but I mean, we can't put it off. We can't not do nothing. We've gone past that. You say, how did we get this point? We've never had the money for the big projects. It just hasn't been there. And so we've cut corners. We've tried to make things last, and it's just been, at the time's due now, we have to fix this stuff. So, and I think that's about it. So thank you for all for coming. Yes, Rhonda? Sure.
This is not an indictment of anybody. Steve and I both been on the trustees and we know the battle. But I think it's just absolutely essential that as a church, the trustees budget sinking funds. So that we've got the reserves to take care of some of the stuff. And I know that's hard because we always spend every dime we have. That's what churches do. But I think it's so important that we set up sinking funds that are adequate to take care of our people.
And so going forward, and Rhonda's question is about sinking funds. And yes, we are looking at trying to be more proactive in going forward. And that's where we hope the Durbin Center, that we will actually identify projects with the funds from that, and we'll start putting 10% a year or something away and not just wait till the very end. You know, we're going along pretty good here, but last fall when we had to do the King's Corner roof, and that was $67,000, and all of a sudden we don't have any money anymore. We're down to the, you know, really struggling with just the day-to-day stuff here too. So, and it's where we're at though. So that hope as we go forward this campaign, we'll get started on some of this. So, okay.
Hey, thanks a lot, Dave. Sure. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate you doing that. You're a lot more familiar with these projects than I am. So, and back to the Durbin Center, I think at some point we may actually want to possibly divest that property. That's not in our, we had the opportunity to do a year ago and we didn't do it. We voted that down and decided it would be better to get it back to become a profit center before we did that. But I think that might be a source of funds because our original vision for that was to eventually move the church offices over there. And I don't see that ever happening. Do you, Dave? I mean, I just don't think it's going to happen. So I think maybe at some point we'll look at divesting that and investing that money in a more conventional type asset, something that's, you know, requires less, you know, upkeep or maintenance, that sort of thing. So, but I appreciate your attendance. Another question?
Well, I was going to make a comment, just to follow up with what Ronna said. Yeah, I'm Dave Doyle, and I'm chairman of the Finance Committee. So we have had this discussion between the three of us about maintenance and repairs and upkeep and everything. And traditionally, that hasn't been part of the church budget. It's been off to the side, and it's been done, I guess, by little elves that just had the money and got things done, and there wasn't a lot of visibility with it. I think that it's a reasonable discussion that we've had about whether or not to put some of this stuff into an annual church budget. The issue is next October, next November, if we were to do that and the Finance Committee forwarded a budget to the Board of Stewards with big numbers in it as part of a stewardship campaign, the question seriously is, what kind of reception would all of you give that idea? Because one way or t'other, all of us are going to wind up having to pay for this. You know, there's no, we get a little bit of non-pledged and non-unpledged income from various sources, but that invisible money isn't going to cover this. So, you know, whether or not we do this as or part of this in a budgetary item, or whether we do this as a standalone thing through a fundraising effort is going to have a lot to do with how you guys want to manage this program. So please be thinking about that.
Thank you, Dave. And in closing, I will say that one of the things that we're going to need to do a better job of is being stewards of this church's money. Over the last, since I've been on the board of trustees, we've had our money parked in a fixed income fund, greatly to our detriment, I will say that. We've missed out on a lot of potential gains in the Tate Fund, and that has cost us dearly. And we're going to have to do a better job in the future. Any other questions? Any more questions? Yes, sir.
Who else is on the board of trustees? If we have questions and we can't get a hold of you.
Okay.
Who else on it?
Okay, the trustees is myself, Steve Cathy is the vice chairman, Dave is the secretary, and then we have Luann Alhusen, Bob Fox, Dana Duell, and Paul Larson, yep, and Cindy Olson as well. If y'all would please stand up, I'd appreciate that. Thank you. Yes. The way you donate to this improvement fund is, I think you can simply just, if you like to do it as an offertory during church, just designate it to go to the trustees for the building restricted fund is where this will eventually go. Yeah, or you can, building fund would be it used to be called the Smith-Barney Building Restricted Fund, but it's no longer, but we still call it the SB Building Restricted Fund. That's where that goes. Oh, I think we're about out of time. I think it's time for church to start, so.
I think you're fine. You've got about another 5 minutes.
Okay. If you want me to do the sermon for you today? Probably not. You want me to do the sermon at 11 o'clock
Oh,
for you?
sure.
Okay, I'd be
Great.
happy to do that, Janet.
I was just going to say that I've had conversations with the district superintendent that our new appointee will become an immediate partner in this project. Surprise, surprise, Gomer Pyle. And hopefully we will know that news soon. We could ask Staff Parish to stand up, but we hope to know that news soon. And then we'll know exact dates and so forth about campaign or moving forward in certain ways. But the new appointee this will be the big handoff, and we'll look at this together. Our church house needs the love.
Thank you, Janet.
John. Thank you, trustees.
And thanks to Lester Lebsock for putting this presentation together. Appreciate it.